Sri Rajneesh Kumarji, Sri Ravindra Pandeyji, senior members of the banking industry, Mr. Ajay Agarwal, all the family members, all the awardees, first of all, and of course all the invitees, guests. First of all, my apologies for two things. First, that I came late for this event, and second, I'll be leaving early from this event. But it has been a very tight day for me. But nevertheless, I'm very happy that I could come here, spend some time with all of you, because this is a very momentous occasion for Mr. Agarwal, who has contributed a lot in different capacities in the well-being of the new state of Telangana. So in some ways, it's also my duty and responsibility to reciprocate for all the services that he has rendered. I would like to congratulate him for this book, for authoring this very, very useful book, because there's lots of science behind PR. Many people undermine PR, thinking that it's a waste of time. It creates a false narrative. It creates a false hype. But there's lots of utility behind PR campaign, which is run properly, run scientifically. And I feel happy that this kind of a book written with lots of professional experience is now available, and PR professionals, PR practitioners, PR students, and people who benefit from, who are other stakeholders of this line of activity, they will all really benefit from it. So I would like to read it as soon as I can and see what kind of insights the book provides. At the same time, I would like to speak for a few minutes, since lots of members of the banking fraternity are here, people who are well connected with the industry. I would like to give a very quick overview about the state of Telangana, what we have achieved. Many of you would know this already, but I would like to make a quick overview through a few remarks about what is the way in which the growth story of Telangana over the last 8 years has been charted. Many of you would remember that Telangana as a new state was created in June 2014. So precisely in 20 days time, we will complete 8 years. And normally, if you look at the track record of the new states which were created in the past, creating new states in India is not a new thing. While Telangana is the newest state, but there have been examples of other new states which were created in the past. If you look at their history, I don't want to run down any state, but the kind of expectations which were created when those states were formed, they have not been kind of lived up to. They have been belied, if you frankly ask me. And there was a risk that Telangana could have gone down the same path by underperforming, by kind of showing poor leadership and failing its people. But nothing of that sort has happened. In fact, in the last 8 years, Telangana has become a national role model in multiple things. We have achieved tremendous growth in our GDP, our per capita income, the kind of investments that we have achieved, the kind of new jobs that we have created, and some of the achievements in terms of the welfare programs, the programs which have been created for the farming communities. Many of you would recall that the national government, not just the current national government, but even the previous government, has been having a very ambitious goal of doubling farmers' income. People have been speaking about it, but I really do not see any way in which that goal will be achieved in the near future. But I'm very, very confident that with the kind of infrastructure that has been created for the farming community, the kind of extension mechanism that has been provided, the direct benefit transfer schemes, and now we are introducing lots of technology in their agriculture lines of activity. I'm very confident that Telangana will eventually become the first state to show how farmers' income can be doubled over a sustainable period of time on a large population scale basis. It is not a small pilot of, let us say, 100 farmers or 2 villages or 5 villages. For the whole state, we are very soon going to reach this landmark. There are other big success stories also. As was introduced, I look after 2 subjects in the government, information technology and industries, and both these 2 sectors are doing exceedingly well. I'll speak a little bit about what has been our industrial achievement. So in the last 8 years, we have received close to $35 billion of investment. Now, I'm glad that you are clapping, but those who follow investment trends throughout the country, for them this is not a big figure. In fact, there are some states who have done close to 100 billion also, some states which have done 80 billion, 75 billion. So it's not by any imagination the best in the country. There are other states which are doing much, much more. But there are two important things about Telangana's, actually three things about this 35 billion investment. So in our bureaucracy, we use a terminology which is called conversion ratio. How much of the promised investment is actually materializing on the ground? How many units are coming up? How many jobs are getting created? And if you look at India's track record across states, across governments over the last 75 years now, the average conversion ratio is about 40%, 42% or so. Even in the best performing states, it is not more than 60%, because lots of announcements which are made later on, the promoter feels that he had kind of over announced. The reality is very different. Sometimes other challenges come up. The land is not available. Someone goes to a court and stops that project. You would be aware about many national projects which have got stalled, and so on and so forth. So three things about Telangana's track record. One is that of the $35 billion of investment that we have achieved in the last 8 years, we are now close to converting 85% of them, when the national average is just about 40 or 42%. So we are more than double the national average. And I'm very confident that if we take another maybe 12 months or 18 months, this number will cross 90%, because as all of us know, last 2 years, there has been obvious slowdowns in construction, mobilizing labor and stuff like that. So this is remarkable by any stretch of imagination. I mean, if you tell this in the bureaucratic circles that a state is achieving 90% conversion, their eyes will really pop out, because this is something which typically doesn't happen in India at all. So this is, of course, one way of telling that what we promise in Telangana is what is actually delivered on the ground. Everything which is told, actually, there's no difference between what we promise, what we announce, and what we deliver. So that is one example. Another remarkable thing about our $35 billion investment is, again, not many states measure this. And even if they measure it, they don't really disclose it publicly. But in Telangana, not only do we measure it, I personally feel very proud in announcing this on all possible public forums. This is a data about repeat investments. How many people who invested once in the state have chosen to repeat the second time, the third time, the fourth time, and so on and so forth. And again, I feel very proud that the number of repeat investments in our state is 24%, which shows that investors who came here because they found the going to be very good, they chose to do their second project here, the third project here. I'll just give an example. There are, of course, hundreds of such examples, but I'll pick one example to elaborate what I'm speaking about. So many of you would be familiar with this company, which is called Hindustan Sanitary Ware. If you go to any bathroom, you'll notice all those, those wash basins and stuff, all those fittings, etc. This is the company which makes it. So this company is owned by a gentleman whose name is Mr. Somani. So obviously he's not a Telugu person. If a Telugu person was making repeat investments, one could have understood that some home sentiment is playing on his minds and he wants to give back. Somani is obviously not from Telangana. He's not a Telugu person. My presumption is that his ancestors came from Pakistan. So perhaps he's not even technically fully Indian. Of course, don't tell this to him. He's very much Indian, but obviously nothing to do with Telangana. But in the last 7 years, he has made 6 investments in our state. In fact, one after the other. And now things, the way things stand with him is, any new investment he has to do, he just closes his eyes and brings it to Telangana, because he finds the going to be so good. The government delivers everything. Infrastructure is of high quality. Talent is available. Attrition rates of that talent is very low. Talent is affordable. Hyderabad is a very livable city. The government provides a very attractive package of incentives. And most importantly, everyone is extremely accessible. If you, in fact, go to Hyderabad, I mean, we are in Hyderabad. If you ask any, let us say, top 100 CEOs of this city, each of them will tell you that they have the direct personal phone number of our minister with them, my phone number with them, and we are just a message away, just a text away, and we also respond very, very promptly. So this is the reputation that we have built over a period of time, that the government respects investments, the going is good, whatever is promised is actually delivered. And that is the reason why our conversion ratio is more than 85%. We have 24% of repeat investments. And while I gave just this example of Hindustan Sanitaryware, there are lots of examples of global companies, Indian companies who have chosen Telangana, and they are sticking with us. In fact, if you also look at where these $35 billion of investments have come from, we did this calculation the other day, and we found that apart from domestic investors, they are close to, there are investments who have originated in 18 different countries. Of course, US is a very big, US companies are big investors in Telangana. The Americans have discovered us real big time, but we also have investments from Europe, from countries like UK, Germany, France, Spain, Italy. We have investments from Taiwan, China, Japan, Korea, also Middle East countries, and so on and so forth. So 18 countries of origin, apart from domestic investors, behind the investment numbers of our state. So as bankers, as corporate professionals, I'm sure many corporates are connected with you also, who look up to your guidance, who look up to your reference on which are the good states to do business in. And I do hope that you'll be able to spread a good word about Telangana, about Hyderabad. And as a government, we give complete commitment that any reference that we get through you, their experience of doing business with us, our government here, will be absolutely, it will be much more than what they could have ever imagined or expected. So I look up to your cooperation, your support, your partnerships and collaboration. And once again, I thank Mr. Agarwal for creating this beautiful platform in which all of us have gathered. As I regretted, I unfortunately will not be able to stay for very long. I do wish to stay connected with all of you in days to come. Thank you very much for inviting me.